Hey there, Bear Club! At the Mama Bear Initiative, we explore how to protect ourselves so we can protect our cubs, the people who depend on us. Join us and get the confidence you need to stay safe, make good choices, and protect yourself and those you care about. Let's go!
Hello, and welcome back to the Mama Bear Initiative podcast. I'm Stephanie Dunham.
I'm Evelyn Mason.
I'm Rochelle Knapp.
We'd like to welcome you to this podcast episode. We're so excited you're here listening to us. We appreciate the fact that you've decided to hear what we have to say.
Definitely.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So we hope that you get something out of what we're going to talk about today. What are we going to talk about today?
How to be brave.
How to be brave.
Yes.
Now, I don't know. That seems like an obvious thing, but it doesn't feel so obvious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I feel like there's a lot of lack of bravery
Definitely.
out there. I mean, I'm on the YouTubes trolling or trawling. Not trolling. I'm not a troll. Trawling for information.
Like a trolley.
Not that. No, you're misspelling trawling. Trawling like a oyster. What do you call those? Trawlers?
Okay.
Like a boat, a trawling boat.
Gotcha.
Anyway, sorry about that. little side trip on that.
Trawling.
Trawling. Is it trawling with a W? I'm
Yes.
sorry.
Trawling.
Now, just for context, guys, I am a content editor, so I'm kind of into words. So when she said trawling, it sounded like instead of trawling, I would say trawling. Like a drawl. Trawl like a drawl.
Yes.
Okay.
Trawling for like a ship. I keep saying ship, but it's a boat.
Yeah.
That's raking the bottom of the
oysters.
body of water, whatever, for oysters or whatever.
So, guys, you're welcome for this word lesson for today.
Yeah.
And understanding that Steph is not, in fact, a troll, though sometimes she will trawl.
That's true. Trawling the YouTube.
If I just said fishing for information, this would have been a lot shorter conversation.
With a PH or an F. Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Let's get to the point, shall we?
Yes. Anyways, there's a lot on YouTube about narcissism, codependency, communication, and pretty much everybody's saying the same things, which is you need to speak up.
Yeah.
And a lot of times people don't speak up because they're scared or what have you. It's a lack of bravery. I don't want to go all the way to cowardice because I'm not sure I want to say that people are being cowards, but
Right.
Fear is definitely a factor in why people will not do what they need to do.
Yeah.
To stand up for themselves or to stop something.
Right.
And we want to encourage bravery.
Yes.
Yeah,
definitely.
especially if when you hear that you need to be brave, you need to speak up, and the first thing you think of is, I don't know how. I don't even know where to begin.
Right.
Which is how I've felt for a very long time. So I think this is going to be really helpful. It's a reminder for us, but, good for all of us, really.
Yes.
Right. And, we've given ourselves permission to talk about this for an entire hour. So this may be a two-parter. We'll find out as we go along.
And as you know, we do dive deep.
That's true.
Yes.
Buckle up.
Yeah. Get in your fishing boat. Get out your trawler. We're going deep.
We're diving
Be
deep.
brave. We're heading into the
digging
deep
deep, at
waters,
least.
friends.
Since we talked about that anyway, why not?
Let's just go with it.
Okay, so we are talking about how to be brave.
Yes.
And we want to start by defining what bravery is, what we mean when we say bravery. We want to talk about what gets in the way of bravery.
Mm-hmm.
And then we want to give you some steps to becoming brave.
Yes.
And reasons why overcoming your fear, anxiety, or whatever it is that's stopping you from doing the right thing so that you can do the right thing.
Right. Yes.
Yeah, so let's start with a definition. And when we were talking about our notes yesterday, I went to the dictionary.
Of course she did.
And found
She was trawling in the dictionary.
I was trawling in the dictionary for information. And the one definition that made the most sense for what we're talking about is bravery as an adjective, which is possessing or displaying courage, able to face and deal with danger or fear without flinching.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think most of us are familiar with the term "do it anyway," or just do it, as the wise ones at Nike would say.
Right. Yes. So yeah, what we're talking about is you're facing something, you have the thing you need to do,
Yes.
and you're feeling afraid.
Yeah.
Right. I think Nelson Mandela is probably the most quoted person on what courage is, which is doing what's right despite how you feel.
Yes.
Yeah.
There is a quote I really like that says, "Courage is not the absence of fear, but the triumph over it."
That's Nelson Mandela.
Well, there you
Oh,
go.
there you
Perfect.
go. Oh, you had the exact wording. Good job trolling his quote. I think, one of the things that I think is such an important component in bravery, and that helps us to do what we need to do, is hope.
Yes.
If we thought that it was just hopeless, what's the point? Nothing good's going to happen. I think it would be very difficult to overcome that. You just feel like, I'd just be wasting my time. But there's an element of hope, like something good could and probably would come of this if I speak up.
Right. Yeah. I
Or
mean,
do the hard thing.
what we're hoping for is that there's a good result from. Oftentimes, though, I find that you're doing the right thing, but the result is not so great, which can contribute to the problem of being brave.
Right.
Why would you want to do something that's going to get you hurt?
Right. It's sort of like it's easy to just be in there with everyone else, but as soon as you stick your head up, which after a fashion, you're drawing your attention to yourself when you're speaking up or doing something that requires bravery, and suddenly you're a target.
Yes.
Right.
So is it worth it? Can we look past the short-term fear of I might get hurt by the people around me and look at, well, what good can happen if I do?
Yeah. Definitely assessing the risk and deciding if it's worth doing and if the results will be what you want them to be. In the long run, that's the important thing to look at. You might lose something in the process, but if you gain something in the long run, it's worth doing.
Yeah, but I think sometimes the thing that we gain can be less concrete than an actual good result. It might be something along the lines of, I can live with myself,
Right.
Yes.
which may be more important than an actual result.
Yeah.
I
think, I think a lot of this stuff comes down to when everything has slowed down. I'm laying in my bed at night. I put away all the distractions. Now all I have is myself and my mind is going over what I did, what I didn't do.
Right.
Can I say, well, I did the right thing?
Yes.
Right.
Or am I struggling with something that my conscience is really pricking me about?
Right. And that brings us to kind of the last point on this specific section, which is there has to be an action.
Yes.
It's not brave if you have all the feelings but you do nothing.
Right.
It's not being brave.
Yeah, how is it brave to create the scenario where you swoop in and save the day, do all the great things, but you're still letting the situation go on as it is? It's like a form of almost like trying to pacify yourself. Hey, I thought through the scenario. I did something. I thought about it.
Right.
That's a good start, but we can't stay there.
Yeah. You have to have that follow through. Otherwise, you're not really doing anything to help anybody.
Right. If you know what the right thing is to do.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I would say the difference between, fear and anxiety stopping you versus being a coward in a situation is if you've determined what the right thing is to do and you know you need to take an action, but you choose not to anyway, that probably starts nudging you in the direction of being a coward.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, it's an action that makes you brave.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So, not that there's anything wrong with realizing and then hesitating
Right.
Right.
necessarily, because sometimes you have to wait to take action. But if you know what to do, you don't do it, you continue to not do it, now you're creating a pattern and just making things worse. Because it's one thing to say, well, I didn't know what to do. It's quite another to know what to do but refuse to do it.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, an example would be, I mean, this is more common than I would like it to be, is you find out somebody's like this is our friend Jack, one of our friend Jackie's pet peeves. There's a martial arts teacher in a school who's abusing a girl, a teenage girl. This happens more often than it should.
Yeah.
And you find out about it, but then you talk yourself out of it,
Right.
of like reporting it. Because I will say this, if you find out someone is abusing someone else, you should report that immediately. There should be no hesitation on that. No
Right.
question in your mind what the right thing is to do. But you turn away, you look away, you decide not to do anything about it or say anything to anyone or try to stop the person or do anything at all. Yeah, I'm going to call you a coward on that one.
Yeah. Now
Definitely.
you've gone into like coddling yourself, or, you're not thinking about the other person. You're
Right.
thinking about this weird sense of self-protection, which isn't, it's twisted.
Yeah, there was like a situation I was aware of that there was a man who was involved in a martial arts school who was allowed to teach, who had already been in jail
Oh.
for sexual assault,
Oh.
right? He'd already been tried, convicted, and jailed, and was out of jail. And the people who were letting him teach were making excuses for him. And I think that, sexual assault is one of those things where I don't think I could ever trust that person again.
No.
And why
No,
would I
definitely
put them
not.
in a position of power
Yeah.
where they're around kids?
Ugh, especially that.
And to me, that is like the opposite of bravery. Those people who were allowing him to do this were not being brave
No.
and saying no.
They're perpetuating the problem too.
Yeah.
Right.
And really creating a situation that's bad for everyone. Because let's say the guy that they're hiring, he has this propensity. He knows he has it. He might be in denial or whatever. But you're not helping him by bringing him back in.
That's right.
You're putting him in a situation where he may face temptation that he can't overcome.
Right.
Or is unable for whatever reason, and you're putting the students at risk, and who knows who else. So I think there's that justification. Hey, he did his time, right?
Right.
Well, I'm not saying we should, hate the person, but let him find another job. Let him get a job in retail or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not where they could potentially
Or go back
do
into the
crime
prison
again.
and teach men martial arts.
Yeah.
Stay away from kids.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. That's just
Stay
so
away from the
dangerous.
temptation. Like being brave in that situation, if you were the offender, is telling yourself no
Yes.
Yes.
and removing yourself from any potential temptation.
Knowing what your propensity is,
Yeah.
that would be the right thing to do to remove yourself from the situation.
Yeah.
And it would show take it seriously and you have integrity.
Right. And that you have learned, you learned from what happened to you as a result. But I think a lot of times people just aren't self-reflective, and do we really want to take that chance?
Right.
I think that it's a hard no
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
something that severe.
It's really hard to trust someone who's already been in prison for something like that. Why would you put them in a situation in the first place? And if they're not truly sorry for it, they're not going to stop it from happening.
It
Yeah.
would take years of work by that person for me to even remotely
Yes.
trust them for anything at all.
Yeah.
They would have to demonstrate that they have fully repented and fully gotten control of themselves.
Yeah.
One thing I was thinking about, Steph, while you were talking about that person and those who let him back in, I was also thinking, if you're the one in the position, or even just watching it happen, to draw the line and say, okay, you're not allowed to do this, but then you see him go into another similar situation where he's in a new dojo, he's given them a beautiful song and dance, there he is working with kids. If we know better, it seems to me it would be wise to go into that dojo, see who you can talk to and say, hey, this is what happened. And I would hate to see that happen to you instead of just, well, that's their problem. At least we don't have to worry about it anymore.
Right. So that relates back to, what bravery is. It's taking that action regardless of the result.
Right.
I mean, we hope for a good result, but the result may not be great. It may be something that's painful or, something bad happens it doesn't, doing the right thing has nothing to do with the result.
Right.
It really doesn't, because in the short term especially, bad things can happen.
That's right.
Usually when you're dealing with something like that, it is going to turn out in the short term badly or difficult, but
it could, not it will.
It potentially could, but the long term is better. For instance, the example we're using of someone abusing a child, there may be some drama, might have to go through a court process again. So he's done his time and he's teaching again, but he's dangerous. So someone needs to speak up and say, this man is dangerous. He may not have done anything wrong, but the fact that he's already done it is should be enough for someone to say he needs to be removed from teaching any children.
Right. So we kind of got off on a little tangent about the specific problem, but the point is that if there's a situation, somebody has to be brave enough to actually take action.
Right.
In this case, that's what we define as being brave.
Mm-hmm.
So let's get into what gets in the way of bravery, because I know I have so many stories.
Me too.
About my own struggle with being brave.
Yeah. And that's one thing, we do want to talk about some of these stories because I think we can all relate.
Mm-hmm.
So I think one of the things, we think about, I think there's a misunderstanding about people who are brave, just like they feel that strength, that power. They're going in, they don't feel afraid. Well, it doesn't take bravery to do that. So you can still feel afraid, but you're not letting fear take over. So, following the fear, though, letting the fear overwhelm us and keep us from taking action, because it can seem insurmountable.
So what do you mean by following fear? Can you give us an example of a time in your life when you followed fear?
Yes. So when I was in high school, I loved to run. I wasn't very good in gym class in general, but I could run. And I had several people tell me, Evelyn, you should try out for track. And I thought about it, and I started to imagine doing it. The problem is, I started thinking about people I knew who were in track, and I thought about how fast they were, how good they were. And I think I exaggerated how good they were and how I would just drag the team down. And I completely talked myself out of it. And to this day, I really wish I'd have tried out for track.
Yeah, so that looks like, listening to a lot of self-doubt and allowing the self-doubt to make the decision for you.
Plus, my thinking too was, although I don't think I realized it at the time, was if I don't actually do it, I won't fail.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah, I more recently I have a personal podcast that I wanted to do. I've had so many struggles, up and down, in and out, backwards, upside down, what have you, of getting my personal voice out there on things that I care about. I had a blog for a while. I think I did it straight for 1 year, but not very many people were reading it, and I wasn't really making an effort to market myself. And I have anxiety, and my major central theme with anxiety is that I'm not good enough.
Yep.
So it's easy to talk myself out of doing things like a personal podcast or a blog because, who cares about what I have to say?
Right.
Yeah.
And putting myself out there, even if nobody wants to listen to me, is scary.
Yeah.
because it adds to the feeling of I'm not good enough,
Right.
which I'm trying to undo.
Yes.
But actually, dealing with I'm not good enough has nothing to do with the things that I do. It has to do with my self-worth. However, I was giving into the what ifs. Well, what if this? What if that? What if I get ridiculed? What if somebody, thinks that I'm stupid? What if nobody listens to me?
Notice how the what ifs are almost always negative.
Yeah, there's rarely good what ifs.
What if they love it?
But what if they
Yeah.
do? I feel like I'm quoting a movie or something. But darling, what if they?
you-
What is that?
What if what if I fail? But darling, what if you fly?
Right. What is
Yes.
that?
I saw it in a meme.
Oh, it's a meme. Okay. Not a movie.
It might be a quote from something else, but
Okay.
yeah, so letting those questions and even creating scenarios in our minds can be a thing where we can see people ridiculing. We might even have specific people who might be like, who do you think you are? And whether or not they would actually do that,
Yeah.
in our heads they would.
So I had to actually hire a coach to kind of talk me into doing it. Not that I needed a whole lot of convincing, but I had to buck up and figure out a way to be brave and do it anyway. And
Yeah.
at least part of that was installing some of my values in why I was doing it to begin with.
Yeah. And having that accountability and someone to kind of nudge you over the finish line.
That helps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For me, doing things I don't like or don't want to do or being a coward about involves getting somebody else to be accountable to.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things like that with anxiety because you talk yourself out of things. I've talked myself out of so many things, and usually it centers around doing things that are hard for me and scary or feel scary. One specific thing was going to the gym regularly for a long time was a struggle, and I gave in so many times to the fear or the anxiety about it, and still struggle with that to this day. But I'm trying not to now. It's still not easy though. But I've talked myself out of it so many times.
What
Yeah.
what were you feeling about going to the gym that was stopping you? What was scary?
Yeah.
The inner struggle of what if I get hurt? What if I hurt myself? What if I injure myself in some way? That was a big fear for me for a long time. And that was way before any sort of martial art or anything like that. So I was constantly in fear of hurting myself and physically being injured because pain was a big problem for me for a long time in terms of fear.
Yeah.
So you're actually afraid of pain.
Yes, I was.
Yeah.
Yes.
So pain was the thing that was stopping you.
Pain was the biggest part. Yes.
Because that could be categorized as a feeling of danger.
Right.
That's true.
Because I think pain is one thing people want to avoid the most.
Yes.
And when they're trying to avoid pain, they'll pretty much do anything to not engage with something that's going to cause them pain. Which,
Yes.
then you end up feeling bad because you weren't brave enough and you didn't do the right thing.
The cycle of fear and anxiety perpetuates itself in that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It seems
you didn't stop it,
Right.
it seems like what we're talking about is like exponential. As soon as something starts, it starts to grow, and that you get caught in this feedback loop of fear and then inaction and then more fear and more inaction, almost to the point of freezing.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I think the snowball effect here, where you keep going around, but it keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger until you're just, to the point of inaction, complete inaction.
You just become frozen in your fear.
One of the things we fall into is underestimating our own strength, like what we're
Yes.
capable of. If you are worried about hurting yourself at the gym, for example, your ability to have good form, just even if you have it and you have it, becomes, I don't know, what's the word I'm looking for? It doesn't matter
Right.
anymore. It doesn't like play into why you should go to the gym, because you've told yourself, I'm not strong enough to do the exercises without hurting myself.
Right.
Yeah. So instead of being able to give yourself space to, what if I just went in there and got on the treadmill for 10 minutes?
Right.
I can spend a few minutes stretching, get on this treadmill, get off. What if I just did something, some little thing that feels safe, or even just walking around the room?
Right. Yeah. We don't want to get into freezing or fawning. Fawning is like a new add-on to the whole fight, flight, freeze, and fawn.
Yes.
Fawn's the new one.
Right.
I remember when I was in school, it was fight or flight,
Right.
and then they've added freeze, and now fawn. It seems like there's another
There's
one.
another one, but I can't think of the name of it.
Something like flop.
Yeah, flop is one of them, but I think there's something that comes before flop. So maybe one of you guys could let us know.
Yeah.
Drop it in the comments.
But, freezing and fawning are actually cowardly ways to handle danger.
Yeah, where you're
Yes.
not even really handling the danger.
With one exception.
Yeah.
On our last podcast, we were talking about using freezing or fawning as a way to manipulate your attacker
Right.
because you're buying time. That's the exception.
Yes.
But if you're doing those things to avoid pain or danger, even when there's really no pain or danger, then you're falling into basically inaction, which is the lack of bravery.
Yes. And freezing. Well, ultimately, it's just freezing and not letting yourself try at least.
Right. So we're going to stop here because we've definitely gotten to about 30 minutes. And we're going to wrap up. We got through sections 1 and 2. What is bravery? We talked about the definition and what bravery looks like. We've talked about what gets in the way of bravery, some personal examples. The next section is steps to becoming brave. So that's going to be part 2. So I'd like to thank you for joining us on this podcast episode. I'm Stephanie Denham.
I'm Evelyn Mason.
I'm Rochelle Knapp.
And I look forward to seeing you in the next episode. Have a great day.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, Bear Club.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode. Thanks so much for joining us as we discussed such an important topic. We hope you got some food for thought and encouragement to keep going and keep growing. See you later, Bear Club.
Remember to join the Bear Club on our Patreon page for exclusive content. The link is in the description. You can find our podcast on Google, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts.